the one question that Mr. Davenport and I would really like all of you to think about, and if we could just have 2 students share out, it can be in the inner circle or the outer circle, and we're cutting it close on time, but the one question that we do have, which we think will bring it back to what the author's message is. Why do we think Benjamin Zephaniah wrote this poem? And it's the very first question on top, and it says, what do you think prompted the narrator? Okay, we're just going to call him the narrator because we don't want to connect everything in the poem to it being exactly Benjamin Zephaniah. But what do you think prompted the narrator to write a poem like this? What do you think, Michaela?
I think he was prompted to write about this because either he's seen somebody else get, like, because it's not only him that he, like, that's facing it, or otherwise he wouldn't have published it, or it would have just been a reminder for him. He would have hung on a wall or something. So I feel like him publishing it lets others know that, hey, I was just like you too, you know? And the message is, like, for him, it must have been just, like, it must have been enough for him, so he wrote about it and try to, like, make an outlet for every other person who feels exactly like him.
Okay. So the author wrote this to give people an outlet, so they don't feel like they're alone.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think this was like a way for him to go against like the government, because
Okay.
like throughout the poem we see a lot how like they would like shoot down his music and stuff, and like this was like a way of him like spreading his ideas towards the people, to be like an open, like to open their eyes.
Okay. So what you're saying is that what prompted him was to open up people's eyes, right? His message was, you guys need to open your eyes. Here's what's going on in the world, and here's how I'm going to project it to all of you. And obviously, you can take it any way you want, because all of us had a completely different way that we thought this poem was written, or the reason that he wrote it initially. And I think all of us are kind of getting on the same page now as far as maybe why he wrote the poem. So opening his eyes. Giving people a voice. And as we were cutting it close on time, so what Mr. Davenport and I wanted to do, we asked that question to bring it back to our purpose and the whole reason for doing this today, which was essentially to find out what we think, it ties into our essential question is, what is race and does it matter? Finding a source of identity, okay, in terms of being a refugee and what that's like, but also what we think the theme is in the author's message. So our lesson today, what we were trying to do is make sure that we read a poem that had to do with race and prejudice in terms of being a refugee. And that's one of the things that we had our students talk about the last few days. We had a close read with it. So we spent a lot of time with the text, and we wanted them to be comfortable with it, to have an open discussion, and to bring ideas to the table. So it's one of the things that we've been focusing on a lot more, and we're going to continue to do through our poetry unit as the weeks progress. Some of the things that we did to prepare our students for that discussion, I think, first and foremost is having the students be comfortable with each other. So we share a lot in class. I think it's one of those things that 14 and 15-year-old students need to do just so they're comfortable talking amongst each other. And I know when they kind of break off into their own groups, that's a lot easier. But in a classroom where you're discussing content, and obviously students kind of judge each other on knowledge as well, we try and create a comfortable space by always having them share.